Hello, everyone. This is Group 6. Our project is on hypertension management and Latino community in New York City. My name is Jordan, and I worked with Ilse and Jenille. First and foremost, what's hypertension? Hypertension refers to the blood pressure being high in the body, exerted by circulating blood against the walls of the body's arteries. As you can see on your left hand side, this is an example of circulating blood against the walls of the body's arteries. But an easier way to remember hypertension is think of a clogged toilet. When you flush the toilet and the water's not going down, the pipes are clogged either with paper or other materials. So think about the arteries being clogged, but instead of paper, with fat. So that's why it's important to manage hypertension by either eating healthy or taking your medication and following your doctor's orders. You may ask yourself, is hypertension an important public health issue? I say yes. It's an important public health challenge in the United States and other countries. Countries in Africa, Asia, and South America suffer tremendously from hypertension. Hypertension is not only the most common, but one of the most important modifiable risk factor for coronary heart disease and stroke. Hypertension is manageable. There are different ways individuals can manage their hypertension by following their doctor's orders, continuing their medication intake, eating healthy, and even health technologies, which we will discuss further. Who's affected by hypertension? As you can see in this map by the CDC, it demonstrates hypertension prevalence from 2018 to 2020 in adults ages 18 and up by county in the United States. As you can observe, individuals ages 38 to 58 have the highest prevalence of hypertension, specifically in states like New York, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. But our focus here is in New York City. Who's affected by hypertension? Hypertension affects 29% of adults in the United States, a greater percentage in men with 50% and 44% in women. Non-Hispanic Black, 56% with hypertension. Non-Hispanic White, 48% with hypertension. Hispanics make 39% with hypertension in the United States. Prevalence of hypertension in New York City. As you can see in this graph provided by the CDC, it shows the different racial disparities of ethnic groups in New York City and their prevalence percentage of hypertension. As you can see, Puerto Ricans have a prevalence of hypertension of 45%. Dominicans have a percentage of 60%. South American have a percentage of 30% compared to a white counterparts who have a prevalence of 45%. Mobile health technologies and hypertension. First and foremost, mHealth is an abbreviation for mobile health, a term used for the practice of medicine and public health supported by mobile devices. mHealth technologies are not only used for hypertension, but for numerous of other health diseases. Mobile health-based self-management has become a useful treatment for hypertension, and its effectiveness has been assessed in many trials. Currently, there's the Brief Now app, which has been proven effective in managing hypertension. public health professional opinions on M Health for hypertension. Here we have a recording of Dr. Taylor Kamara, a medical care provider at Morris Heights Health Center, and her opinions on M Health for hypertension.
My name is Dr. Taylor Kamara, and I am an internal medicine provider, and I've been practicing medicine for about 13 years now in an underserved community in the Bronx. My thoughts on mobile health is it can be an effective tool in supporting the self-management of chronic medical conditions such as hypertension. Yes, I believe mobile health technologies can support hypertension management through medication reminders, providing encouragement towards the patients who are reaching their blood pressure goals, giving dietary advice, as well as providing some hypertension education as well. Some of the possible limitations to implementing mobile health technologies for the management of hypertension could be patients just actually using the technology, being compliant with the technology, as well as the technology being user-friendly, being easy for the patients to understand and use, as well as having this technology available in multiple languages so the patient can actually understand it. And I guess one limiting factor, the accuracy of the data provided by these mobile devices is important to have a standard or uniformity amongst them.
Here we have another public health professional and her opinions on M Health for hypertension, Jenille Badri, Program Manager of Continuum of Care for the Westchester County.
Hello, my name is Jenille Badri. I am the Program Manager for the Westchester County Continuum of Care Partnerships to End Homelessness. I coordinate all nonprofit, for-profit, and governmental housing and service providers within the Westchester County Continuum of Care. I also plan and manage our coordinated entry homeless response system in order to provide access to permanent supportive housing for the severe and persistently mentally ill, as well as rapid rehousing opportunities for people experiencing homelessness. In my role, I work with and encounter the vast majority of the clients we encounter are homeless people, and they also have severe and persistent mental health issues compounded by physical disabilities. I think that as far as mobile health goes, we live in a time where telehealth is becoming more and more prominent. It's easier to jump on a Zoom call with your primary care physician as opposed to going into the office. You know, we're able to do it from the comfort of our home. So I think that mobile health is here to stay. I think that the biggest barrier to hypertension management is that people, depending on the population you're dealing with, people have a limited health knowledge, and patients' lack of motivation to sustain hypertension self-management behaviors. I believe that mobile health can support hypertension management because telephone calls with members of the healthcare team give people the option for a more in-depth conversation with members of the healthcare team who are trained in things like lifestyle counseling, which a busy primary care provider oftentimes doesn't have time for. As far as limitations, I think that two big limitations to implementing mobile health for hypertension management are that self-report nature of the mobile health questionnaire and the need to register the measurements in the application, as well as the necessity of having to own an Android smartphone. You know, not everybody is able to afford a smartphone, although they're very common. In 2022, not everyone can afford them. So that's also a limitation.
In the next slides, we'll be discussing limitations of traditional non-technology-based approaches. A limitation is medication adherence. That includes language barriers, patient distrust, lack of health insurance. A study observed that Hispanic patients with low acculturation of the American language were less likely to adhere to their cardiovascular medications compared with English-speaking patients. Areas for improvement could be addressed through culturally competent initiatives to reduce the language barriers. Patient trust is higher when healthcare providers are of the same ethnicity as patients. A study found that when Hispanic Americans do not have access to physicians of the same ethnicity, they may choose to rely on the advice of trusted family and friends instead of healthcare providers. According to the U.S. Census Bureau data, Hispanic Americans are more than twice as likely to not have health insurance as Hispanics born in the U.S., limiting their access to health care and therefore lower the chances of medication adherence. Expanding on the limitations of traditional non-technology-based approaches is the diversity within the Latino community. It is a limitation not exclusive to traditional non-technology-based approaches. It can also be found within technological-based approaches. The diversity within the Latino community is important to understand. Results in a study found it is important to acknowledge the varying sub-ethnicities within the Hispanic Latino population. It is not a single entity, but a diverse population with widely varying hypertension prevalence, with some Hispanic Latino groups lower than others. Therefore, it is particularly important to recognize the expansive diversity within all Latino sub-ethnicities and their different cultures. As previously discussed, there are limitations to traditional non-technology-based approaches. However, it is important to highlight some of the benefits of traditional non-technology-based approaches. The risk of high blood pressure, also called hypertension, increases with age, but getting some exercise can make a big difference. If you have high blood pressure, exercise can help you control it. The video we are presenting today helps highlight the importance of including traditional non-technology-based approaches, such as exercise, and the importance of it being culturally competent to fit the needs of the Latino community.
When people hear the word Latinos Run, immediately they connect with their culture. Immediately. People want to know how they can get involved with people that look like them, people who they feel like they more could relate with. A lot of Latinos need a safe space where they feel comfortable being around people that are just like them. And Latinos Run gives them that opportunity, that gives them that safe space where they can just come and really just connect and speak their language if they need to, or just, really connect with people that they feel more comfortable with. I know how important Hispanic Heritage Month is for us for celebrating our culture. I couldn't find a Hispanic Heritage Month run anywhere in the country, and I knew for our community that we needed something like that. us being together, sharing our experiences together, sharing our journeys together really matter, and it really helps build a strong foundation for the running community. Latinos run! Woo!
Limitations of technology-based approaches. Some limitations are language used in the applications. Language is very important. Language should always be at a sixth grade reading level so that individuals are able to understand. If the intervention is being tailored to individuals that speak another language besides English, then that language should be included in the application. Another limitation is usability of the technology. The widgets and the different parts of the application need to be easy for individuals to understand so it could be a pleasant usage of the technology. Apps not being culturally competent. What does that mean? Developers are not being aware of the cultural worldview or the culture differences or the culture that the intervention is being tailored to. Another thing is social determinants of health affecting the use of technology. For some individuals, putting food on the table is more important than using an app to manage their hypertension. Putting money for the rent is more important than downloading an app or buying an app in an app store that will help them with the hypertension. So we as public health professionals should meet the individuals where they're at with their needs.
Hello everyone, my name is Jenille Simon, and as part of this group I would love to thank you for entering the second phase of managing hypertension in the Latino community in New York City. You're doing such a lovely job, and we would love to talk more about mobile health applications with you. In this phase, we are focusing on the mobile health app, My PH Team, that supports users who have a relationship with pulmonary hypertension or pulmonary arterial hypertension. Now, Jordan did define what pulmonary hypertension was in the beginning of this demonstration, and he did a lovely job. But because you made it this far, we just want to refresh your memory just a little bit. Now, pulmonary hypertension in this case will be considered the tree, and pulmonary arterial hypertension would be considered the branch. And as we know, pulmonary hypertension is described as a condition where high blood pressure affects arteries of the lungs and the right side of the heart, which can result in chest pain and shortness of breath. Now, My PH Team is designed for users who have a diagnosis of either type of hypertension, have a spouse who has a diagnosis for either type, or a child who's been diagnosed with either type. Now, as you move further along in the application, it is easy for you to log in. You can either use your Facebook credentials or an email. Your information is not shared on your Facebook site, so please be free to use it. They do have rules and regulations about what you can post, and they also want people to understand that this mobile health application does not promote or recommend a particular provider or treatment. It is not a medical referral site, and the information should not be deemed as medical or health advice. But it does provide information in a very inviting way, and as a person who does not have hypertension, this is a great tool to build that knowledge. Now, once users choose which hypertension profile they fit and provide their credentials, the application designs a profile biography for you. You can easily edit it or opt to bypass it, but it does allow you to notify other users that you are here on the app, and they can see your presence and tap in to see if they would like to add you to their team. Now, these teams are easily formulated. You can search by your own location, or if you are a traveler, you can serve by another location. That way, you can build somewhat of a network and you can follow each other, communicate with each other, virtual. I promote virtual. And it also lets you know that people in your general community are also dealing with hypertension and ways on how to develop it. Now, the beauty of this app is that people post just as they would on Facebook because this is a social platform. You can easily comment, love, thumbs up, or add others to your team based on a simple post. The beauty of this app, too, is that they provide reading material, if that's your bag, that allows you to be more educated about hypertension and living with it. Another user-friendly element about this app is that the colors and the size of the font are very easy to read. So this does cater to people who may have vision issues. It is not as busy as Facebook, so those who are not technologically savvy will not be deterred by the activity on the feed. It does allow people to engage in the most basic form, so there is no pressure. And throughout the feed, you will see people discuss how they feel, what their day is like, information from their hospital. So it almost serves as a cathartic virtual space where people can support each other and create a virtual family who all have a unifying health condition. Some additional features that my PH team users can benefit from is that this is somewhat of a confidential social platform. Your information will not be shared on Facebook, and neither will your Facebook posts be shared on your My PH team feed. So as long as you behave yourself by the guidelines directed in the beginning of signing in for this mobile health application, this is a friendly space where people with a like-minded chronic issue can have a tool where they can communicate, ask questions, and obtain information. Another important element is that the mobile health app allows you to find information about various treatments for pulmonary hypertension or pulmonary arterial hypertension. If it is medication, users are given an overview, the name, which is in alphabetical order, directions for taking the medication, possible side effects, and links for more information. If it is exercise, there are details about the body's response to exercise, and there's even a space for users to ask questions about various types of treatment. Another important feature is that blogs are actively updated. So if one is afraid that the information might be old, it is constantly being looked into and fostering that level of education and inquiry that is important to fully understand and to live with this chronic illness. As we move further along in the mobile health approach, we first have to understand what traditional approaches include. And what that looks like is identifying and controlling blood pressure, using prescribed medication, and sometimes people use unprescribed medication. I'm not judging, I'm just offering information. Changing one's diet, exercising, or consulting with a specialist. And those are great tools if you have access and if you have medical coverage. But for many of us, health insecurity is a reality. We may not have the access to speak with a specialist. Our job may not grant us the time to really take our health to that level of seriousness. by implementing a mobile health app like my PH team, it does allow one to still gather a bit of information. Now, I will assert again that my PH team does not promote a particular treatment or provide any health advice, but what it does use is a social platform to create a community. And for Latinos who are trying to manage hypertension in New York City, this is a powerful tool that, if used properly, can foster a group level of power, educate, and be used as a tool to encourage them to see professionals, even as a team, seeing as the power is there to create one's own team and also to educate each other on how to prepare things and to live with a disease that is going to be a part of their everyday lives. We are in the final phase, and this is a critical phase because as public health professionals, this allows us to check in. Now, when we are looking at the management of hypertension in the Latino community, we have to understand that this is a rapidly growing minority community in the United States. And unfortunately, minorities have a very complicated history when it comes to health. But we don't have to do that. We have power. We can help things come to light and to change things. So let's delve back a little bit and let's look at what are some of the causes and how we can implement that into a mobile health application that doesn't have to disenfranchise like traditional approaches do. Now, ways that we can make mobile health apps better, especially an app like my PH team, which is a great starter. We wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel, but we can revolutionize it. And how do we do that? We can scaffold it so that it can fit into the daily lives of its users. We can make sure that it is in a language that is comfortable for users to use. Currently, it's only in English. But what if it was in Spanish or Portuguese or indigenous languages? It would open up a whole new realm of communication. And what if it did more than monitor, but it managed? Because hypertension is going to be a lifelong relationship to whoever is impacted by it. So learning the right tools in the right space with the right method is the right way for you to learn how to function with this. No one is necessarily born with hypertension, but we can learn how to live with it so that we can live fulfilling lives. So let's think about that. I want you to tell me what you think about that.
Conclusion. Health technologies are an essential part of medicine and public health advancement. It is crucial that health developers take into consideration app usability and the language used so that it can become successful with the population it aims to serve.
Here are some of the references that we used throughout our slideshow. We'd also like to give a big thanks to Dr. Taylor and Jenny Badbury. They gave very insightful information into how we can develop health applications that are culturally competent and relevant to the communities we are targeting. In this presentation, we specifically chose Latino communities in the hopes of bettering and, as Janelle put it, not to reinvent the wheel, but to build on what we have.
Please feel free to ask questions and inquire more about what we presented today.
We are looking forward to seeing everyone's opinions and questions, and we will be more than glad to answer anything. And thank you again for being here and taking the time to listen to this video, and thank you.